So, good morning or greetings to you, whatever time of day you're watching this on YouTube. Very welcome to join us, the School of Christian Mysticism for meditation, which is inspired by the Christian tradition, and in particular some material which has been found relatively recently, 1945, old scriptures which were buried in the desert. So a gospel which particularly attracted me on this occasion was a gospel called the Gospel of Truth. And as far as we know, it was written by somebody called Valentinus or Valentinus. And I'd just like to say a little bit about Valentinus, as I have received it from the scriptures, the scholars, and my own resonance in my heart, and about the school of Valentinus, which grew up around him, one of the gnostic streams of thought and practice. And then we're going to engage in a meditation, evoking the practice of the Valentinian school. So Valentinus was born in Africa in what is now Tunisia in about 100 AD. So not that long after Jesus and the apostles. He was educated then in Alexandria, and then in his adulthood he moved to Rome, where he became part of the Christian community and was accepted probably as a priest, as far as we know, maybe as a bishop. We don't really know. And I've heard it, I've read the comment that if Valentinus and his school had been bishop at that time, then perhaps the way that we understand church and Christianity now would be very different. A way that perhaps we're only just rediscovering now in this school and in many other similar Christian organizations. The approach to Christianity that Valentinus and his school had was an approach which many of us here, I think, would find extremely familiar. Those of us involved in contemplation, in meditation, in inner work, in mysticism. And that is basically the idea of God being essentially good, merciful, kind. A God characterized by what they called the pleroma, which is the fullness. And the presence of the pleroma can be detected sometimes by, and some of us will have experienced this, in a deep state of fragrance or beauty. A certain taste, even with the inner senses. And God sent forth emanations, and some of these emanations ended up like us, as human beings in the world. And human beings, us, have come into a state of separate body, separate mind, and forgotten that they're part of the oneness, the pleroma, and different parts of ourselves, of one person, and have come into conflict with another, our different motivations and aspects of character, personality, experience, and one human being, as we know, comes into conflict with another. One area of the world comes into conflict with another on a bigger scale. And this is all about ignorance. We are ignorant of our heritage of oneness. And the school of Valentinus was a school of Gnosticism, of knowledge. And so that knowledge is the remembrance of wholeness, of oneness. We would say that of the Christ within. Christ not only within us, but within everybody else as well, just waiting to be discovered. The Valentinian school, a large part of their practice, as far as we know, was in sacrament, including, for example, baptism, with which we'd be familiar now, although it might have been quite different then. The Eucharist, another one, and also a sacrament called the bridal chamber. And the bridal chamber, rather like in a marriage between two people, is where two people come together as one. And this has been thought, the bridal chamber, to be actually involving some sort of sacred sexual activity, and this may or may not be the case, but really it was meant and is still meant as a spiritual experience of recovering oneness. The Gospel of Philip, a Valentinian scripture, speaks much of the bridal chamber, and I'm going to use quotes directly from the Gospel of Philip as we go through this meditation of the bridal chamber. So we're going to go on a sacred journey now into meditation. To the bridal chamber within. So I invite you to prepare for this journey. We might, in some circumstances, call it a visualization, but that's to suppose that it's not necessarily a deep spiritual practice. Let's go deep as we wish. So let's just come to our breath. Now, being conscious of our breath, the presence of God in us. So let's imagine that we're going to meet our guide. That guide might be a spiritual teacher you know already. It may be Jesus, it may be Mary, or other. We have committed ourselves to enter the bridal chamber, to do the work on ourselves which we need to do to come into oneness. And let us enter the interior landscape, a place where we'll meet our guide. So take a moment to put yourself in this landscape. Maybe within a church, or it may be outside somewhere. You know that with this guide, you can completely trust him or her to guide you safely. He or she has your best and deepest interests at heart. And he or she explains there are 3 places of worship in the inner Jerusalem. One open to the west, one to the south, and one called the Holy of Holies, open to the east. The Holy of Holies, the bridal chamber, open to the east. You prick up your ears, you understand that in the east was the Garden of Eden, and you understand that this means going back to the beginning, going back to the continuous beginningness where all is made new. Trust and consciousness in the embrace, your guide tells you, are exalted above all. Those who truly pray to Jerusalem are to be found only in the bridal chamber in the east. You walk with your guide to an enclosed area. If you're outside, this may be a hut or an area, a secluded area where you won't be disturbed. If you're inside in a church, for example, it may be a small chapel. Your guide says, the teacher, Jesus said, my Father lives in secret. Enter into your chamber, close the door, and pray to your Father who is there in secret. This means in your innermost being. That which is inside is the secret of all. It is fullness, the pleroma. Beyond it is nothing, for it contains all. So take a moment now to settle yourself into this place, this bridal chamber, this place of alchemy, transformation, a transformation where you can go only as far as you wish. What is the bridal chamber, if not the place of trust and consciousness in the embrace, the integration of separate parts of being? It is an icon of union beyond all forms of possession. Here is where some arise and awaken. Seek the experience of the pure embrace. It has great power. Contemplate the presence in this impermanent body. This embrace does not arise from impulse or desire like a human to human embrace, but it is an act of will. We have to will this to happen. We have to give our own will to the process. And we have a choice whether to do that. You are now alone. Your guide has departed. You are alone in the pleroma, in the oneness. In the bridal chamber, discovering your ignorance, discovering your separation from God, your separation of aspects of self. Our tendencies to come into conflict with others, our tendencies to project aspects of self onto others. Both positive and negative. You hear the words of Jesus, of Yeshua. I have come to make the lower realities like the higher realities, and the outer realities like the inner realities. I have come to unite them in this temple space, where they may reveal themselves through images and symbols. Be open to images and symbols. You remain present to your breath. As you have been told that with realized human beings who work with energies that obey them, they prepare all things to come into being. Everything awakens and is redeemed, good and evil, right and left. The breath leads all things to their repose. It aligns the energies, the obedient, the wild, and the solitary ones. It gathers them together so that they are no longer dispersed. You pay attention to your breath, which is affected by the state that you are in. By paying attention to our breath, we bring it into a rhythmic, even state. So now is an opportunity to work with these energies, which are the aspects of self. And I invite you to use a little formula which can be very helpful for us in doing this. And that is to think of someone or a situation with whom we feel in conflict at the moment. There may be a situation that near at home or out in the world about which you feel conflicted or with which, or there may be a person with whom you have conflict. So just bring this person or situation to mind as we sit here in the bridal chamber. This place of transformation. And you may find that in relation to this person or this situation, you find yourself thinking, I'm okay, but they're not okay. I'm okay, but they're not okay. That's a sign there's some projection going on. On the other hand, we may be thinking, I'm not okay, but they are okay. That also is a sign of splitting and separation. So we may be thinking, I'm okay, but they're not okay. Or I'm okay, but they're not. Or they're okay, but I'm not. We may even be thinking, I'm not okay and they're not okay either. So work with this. I invite us to work with this as we enter this opportunity for transformation. Can we bring the situation within us in relation to this into a I'm okay and they're okay? I'm okay and they're okay. Sometimes if we're able to contemplate I'm okay, you're okay in a situation like this, we find that the situation drops from mind to heart. And when we feel a heart connection, we may not be condoning something somebody has done, but there is a connection. And we're after connection, a joining within ourselves. We're continuing to do this work in this bridal chamber, in this holy of holies. We're in the East, place of continual beginningness, continual possibility. Christ comes again to heal this wound, to rediscover the lost unity, to enliven those who kill themselves in separation, reviving them in union. We're going to spend a few more moments here in the bridal chamber, giving ourselves to the possibility of transformation, of rediscovering the fullness, the completeness, the pleroma inside us. If we become aware of any symbols or images, then just note these, which have been helpful. We may have become aware of a certain fragrance, or a certain sound, or the sweetness of sense of mercy. So we're preparing to leave the bridal chamber now. We know that we can re-enter it because we carry it within us. Whenever we have the opportunity. But now our guide has come to get us. And he or she knocks and opens the door and brings us out, or brings us out from the secluded outside area where we were. You take a moment to give thanks for anything which you've received. And your guide says this to you: the children of the union of lover and beloved are born in the bridal chamber, the children of union. These are the true human beings, the sons of man, the sons of the sun. These true human beings are called to love in the world. These true human beings, the product, as it were, of union in the bridal chamber, are called to love in the world. Those who have become free through knowledge become loving servants of those who do not yet have this knowledge and freedom. Knowledge makes them capable of this because they are free, even of their freedom. Love refuses nothing and takes nothing. It is the highest and vastest freedom. All exists through love. It does not say, "This is mine," but "This is yours." I'll take a moment now to come out of this inner world and return to our gathering. I think we could end the recording here now, Tim.